So I wrote a DM to him. I slid in the DMs technically, and I said, I'll do anything for the plot. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. You can use code Molly Burke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name. Tomorrow, Valentine's Day, marks the 3-year anniversary that I got on the internet and ran my mouth and yapped about how I had zero intentions of dating. I was the happiest single person you had ever met, which was all so deeply very true. And next week, February 23rd, marks the 3-year anniversary of my boyfriend and I meeting.
Yay!
So I feel like it's about time I finally tell you the story of how we actually met. Now, I will say, there's many reasons that we've chosen to keep our relationship a bit more private than I have in the past, and than other people might. There is also a specific reason I have chosen not to tell this story until now, and that is because I always felt like there would inevitably be people who would make judgments or jump to conclusions when hearing the how we met story. But I feel like because you guys have had, almost 3 years getting to know him behind the camera, hearing his voice, learning about our relationship, you see that we've been, happily together for almost 3 years now, living together for 1.5 years. I feel like you guys have built some trust in him and in our partnership, and hopefully now we won't have to jump to the conclusions and judgments. I feel like we've told this story so many times. The iconic how we met story, right? Like everybody always wants to know in our real life, oh my God, how'd you two meet? So we've told this story a million times over, and overwhelmingly, people do think it's adorable. I'm biased, but I do as well. I think this is a really cute how we met story, and I love getting to tell it. So I'm excited to finally get to bring it to you, my internet friends, in a safe space of love and support and kindness. And let this be your little Valentine's Day reminder that if you're still out there desperately seeking a romantic partner, I am here to be an example of the annoying cliche that when you stop looking is when you find it. When you least expect it, he'll walk into your life. The way people used to say that to me, and it would drive me up a wall and back down the other side. That would drive me so nuts. Damn, in my life, it certainly was true. Because when I posted that video, I genuinely was like the happiest I had ever been as a single person. And I started dating when I was 15 years old and had a number of serious relationships in that time, flings, situationships, dating on and off, and then periods of just being happily single. I was always somebody from the time I had my first breakup that I was happy and content being single. I was never somebody who felt the need that the moment I got out of a relationship to find another person. I have gone through many periods where I was like, no, I just love being single. I like being on my own. I enjoy it. But in my mid-20s, I was not in that headspace. I had definitely been in this desperate space and found myself in a very, very toxic relationship because of that desperation that I had had. And coming out of that, the biggest life lesson that had taught me was my peace, my sanity, my well-being is the most important thing. And if a man takes that from me, absolutely not. And I feel like coming out of that relationship, the thing that really scared me the most about dating was not that I didn't trust men. I wasn't like, oh, men are bad. What I took away from that relationship is I didn't trust myself to see bad men. I didn't trust myself to see the red flags. And that's why I was kind of like, you know what? I am so much more at peace and happy and content in my life and fulfilled on my own than in a relationship. That's kind of the feeling that I had leaving that. And I didn't want to date because I didn't want to risk that I would miss the signs again and get myself in a situation that took my spirit again. So I was like, the easiest way to avoid that is to enjoy my life as a single person. And I truly was. I was loving life. And then you showed up.
Hello.
February 17th, this is all so ingrained in my mind. February 14th, I post that video. February 17th. I am in my 1-bedroom apartment that I lived in right before this, where I filmed that video. I'm in my pajamas. It's like a Saturday or Sunday morning. And I'm just roaming the apartment, getting ready slowly. It's 11, 12. And my mom was like, Molly, this guy asked you out on Instagram. And I was like, okay, I don't care. And don't get me wrong, being on the internet, I've gotten the unsolicited pictures in the DMs, which was always funny to me because I can't see? My poor mother when she would open
Oh my
those.
God.
Yes. But also, like, I've had, like, you know, people email me. I actually had one person email me, like, a full pitch of our first date and themselves. Like, I've definitely had men and women, frankly, try to ask me out in the past. But my mom never really presents them to me. So I thought it was, like, unusual that she was presenting it to me, especially because, frankly, if anybody was scarred coming out of my previous relationship, it was Neve Burke. So I knew that just as much as I didn't want to date, she did not want me to date. And so I was like, weird that she's telling me, but I didn't think much of it. And then she kind of starts telling me more. Like, she takes a few minutes and then she, like, keeps talking. And essentially what had happened was there was a video that I had made. And in the video, I had like had a slip of the tongue. And I had meant to say, I always get asked who styles me, because it was like a fashion video, styling outfits. And you guys know, like, I'm a fashion girly. I style myself. So that was what I was going to say. But instead I said, I always get asked out. And I thought it was really funny because I corrected myself and I was like, I don't know why I just said that. I never get asked out. And I was like, you know what? The girls who get it. Like, the other girlies who never get asked out or on team camp never getting asked out will, like, appreciate seeing that. So I left it in the video. Now we need to, like, take a step back and rewind. This is where I always felt like some of the judgment would come in. My now boyfriend had discovered my content back in 2019. So 5 years prior to us meeting. And he had discovered me because he had been in his line of work working with a paramotoring company. I'll insert some footage of what paramotoring is, but
Yeah, we'll insert some of my footage.
we'll insert some of his footage of what paramotoring is. But essentially it's like similar to paragliding, but you have a motor. Fancy that. So you kind of like fly with this parachute on. Anyways, I had just recently done my video with the Dolan twins going blindfolded skydiving. And that video blew up. I think to date, it's still my most viewed video. So it was going in everybody's algorithms. And because he had been watching content associated with like that kind of world of like paramotoring and air sports and whatever, it popped in his feed. And he was like, oh, interesting. And he clicked on it. And then he ended up watching a couple of my other videos and subscribing. So he started following me on YouTube and like would be a very casual, occasional watcher. And then fast forward to 2023 again, one of my videos popped into his YouTube feed. He watched it and he was like, oh wait, I don't follow her on Instagram. And Instagram is like his preferred scrolling platform. So he's like, I'll go follow her on Instagram. So he follows me on the 17th, which is when that video came out where I talked about, or like right around that date where I talked about me never getting asked out. So because he just follows me, that video like pops into his feed and he watched it and he heard me make that comment. This is where it's so funny because I know him so well and this is so not his personality. He is so not
I'm
this.
a player.
Oh my God, just the way you said that exemplifies how you are not. So then he basically like, I don't know, decides he's in a silly, goofy mood and he's gonna shoot his shot. He is so not a slide in the DMs guy, which is why this is hilarious to me now. But he leaves this comment and he's like, I find it hard to believe you never get asked out. I would like to change that with like a little wink emoji or something.
You got it word for word.
Photographic memory without the photo is coming in handy. And so that's the comment my mom sees. And now under that comment,
We'll go actually find it. I'm sure it's still there.
oh, it is still there for sure. I've left the video's still there, so your comment's definitely still there, which is another reason
Really
I never
cute.
shared this story. So under that comment, there was a couple people like tagging me and being like, Molly, this cute guy just asked you out. And that's how my mom found it, because like I was being tagged and she signed into my account as on her phone as well. So she sees it and she goes and stalks his page because he had like an open public page and sees that he looks like a really sane person. He had like lots of photos with friends and like doing like traveling and doing different activities that I enjoy. And he had tattoos and I love tattoos. And he works in the entertainment industry like as behind the scenes, which is something I find so funny because I often think that there's this alternative universe, which is what a lot of people think when they hear that I'm a content creator and he's a professional cinematographer. They assume that we met through either like I hired him to film one of my projects or that we met on set. Like doing one of my, like I, do commercial work and stuff. Brands hire me to be on normal stats. So like that we met that way. And it's like there's a universe in which we did, but we didn't. So like she sees that, oh, like he's a cinematographer, lives in LA, like works in the industry. LA is, yes, a huge city, but also very small. So like I also knew that he wouldn't like risk
If
being
we had met on set.
Right, if we had met on set, there is totally an unspoken rule that like crew and talent can't, like it's frowned upon for like crew and talent to fraternize or like crew to ask out talent. But equally, I also knew the same stood, like he wouldn't slide in the DMs, even though it wasn't the DMs, it was the comments, and risk like being blacklisted or me being like, that guy's creepy, like don't hire him if he was creepy, you know, like you just don't take those risks within the industry. So I was like, okay, he's probably sane. But then I still wasn't like interested because as I said, I was still like super happily single. So then I get this comment back from him on that thread to other people commenting. And I guess because he had just followed my page and that was the first video to pop up, he then like went to my page and scrolled a couple of my shorts, my reels, and saw like 3 days prior I'd posted the one about wanting to remain happily single and having no intentions of dating. So then he goes back to everybody tagging me and he comments as a reply like, I just saw that she doesn't want to date, like don't pressure her. And for me, that was the green flag. That was like the, okay, he's a good guy. Like he respects boundaries. That was like a big thing to me. So after my mom vouching for him, I showed his profile to like Robin and some other people that I trusted and they vouched for him. I looked at his page. He had videos of him talking on his page, not like I'm trying to be an influencer video, but just like he writes poetry. So he had like a video from him performing poetry, like a poetry reading night. And I was like, okay, like I can hear his voice. I see his personality. He's artsy. He has lots of friends. Like he's in the industry. I feel like we would just get along. So I wrote a DM to him. I slid in the DMs technically. And I said, I'll do anything for the plot. If you are down to meet under the understanding of friendship and not dating, I'm always interested in making new friends, which is true. LA is a famously difficult city to make friends in. We're in the same industry, just different verticals of it. Like, let's just meet up. You never know. And he was like, he was down. Okay, before I tell you what happens when we actually meet in person for the first time, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. I've been hosting my website, mollyburkeofficial.com, on Squarespace for as long as I can remember at this point, but this past year we did totally revamp it and give it a facelift, and we used one of their newest tools to help us. Design Intelligence uses cutting-edge AI to help you build a beautiful, bespoke online presence for your business or brand that fits your unique needs. All you have to do is answer a few quick questions and then it helps generate the website for you. Of course, you're able to tweak it from there, but it really makes it so simple and seamless. And once your website is up and running, you can start making money immediately by selling content. You can sell anything from courses, blogs, videos, or memberships. And then you can set up recurring revenue by putting up a paywall. Just set the price and then you choose whether you want a one-time payment or a subscription. Even if you don't make content, there are still ways to make money on Squarespace by turning any lead into paying clients using proposals, estimates, contracts, and even invoices all through your website. So if you're ready to get building your Squarespace website, head to squarespace.com/mollyburke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name. Okay, and now we're gonna get into the good stuff. Back to the story. So I let him pick the time and the place, and what I appreciated is that, well, what's funny, but what I also appreciated was like from then on, we exchanged like 5 messages from the day that I messaged him till like 5 days later or whenever that we met. We exchanged like very minimal messages. It wasn't like all of a sudden like, oh, let's like chat and get to know each other. No. The only messages we exchanged were like coordinating meeting. And I actually really appreciated that because I felt like, again, it was like a boundary. It wasn't like, oh, now I have like your undivided attention. I can like ask you all the questions and I can get up in your personal space. I don't know, like we've all been on dating apps where like before even the first date, you talk for like a month straight all day, every day, and then you meet and oh, the chemistry isn't even there. I didn't want to like waste either of our time And also, like, this was friendship. It wasn't dating. So, like, I didn't want that pressure of, like, let's, like, chit-chat. I also really appreciated that he did not ask questions like, oh, what part of town do you live in? Or, like, do you want me to pick you up? He did not ask for my phone number so that we could coordinate over text. Like, he kept it in the DMs. I really appreciate it.
I gave my phone number in case you wanted.
Yes, you gave me your phone number in case I wanted to text you, which I did not. But you never asked for mine. And, like, I appreciated all those things. It felt like he was respecting my boundaries and my space. That, like, he understood why I might feel uncomfortable saying what part of town I lived in. He understood that I might feel uncomfortable with him picking me up or giving him my phone number or texting. So he never made me feel like he was crossing my boundaries of privacy. And that felt very respectful before I met him. But that said, I was still, like, very anxious and stressed meeting him because it still felt like I am meeting a stranger on the internet. And I don't know, I was really stressed. But I was like, girl, this would make such a fire story time. Like, I went on a date with a follower, with a subscriber. Bomb story. Such a good story time. So I was like, again, I'll do anything for the plot. Like, if anything, worst case, this is gonna be a great video. Best case, I get a friend. You know, like, so to me, I was like, okay, it is a win-win. You can do this. But I strategically planned it. The place we were meeting was nowhere near where I lived, but it was near my friend Mo and Chris, like my second parents. So my mom was gonna go on a little play date with Mo during my date, and they were gonna drop me off and pick me up. Well, now I call it a date. But during our meeting. So it was this, like, really cute coffee shop, really aesthetic, very beautiful. Mo and my mom, like, dropped me off. Again, I didn't feel embarrassed about that. Like, if this was a date, absolutely would I never do that because I'd be embarrassed that, like, my mom and my friend are dropping me off. I wasn't embarrassed at all. It's just a guy I'm meeting under the guise of friendship. Like,
There was zero pressure.
There was zero pressure.
Zero expectations.
Nothing felt datey in that capacity. I wore joggers, sneakers, a hoodie, and a big bundled up jacket because it was super windy, and, like, my hair in a ponytail. Like, I was so chill. I was not trying to look sexy. I was not trying to look hot. I was cozy and comfy and loungy.
But it was, like, a cold, windy day, and I really appreciated how down you were to, like, weather
the literal storm.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because we met on, like, midday on a Wednesday, which I also really appreciated because we're both entrepreneurs. We both own our own businesses, and we both had, like, the flexibility to do that, which is something I've always wanted in a partner, is somebody who equally had, like, flexibility with their schedules. So my mom and Mo dropped me off. They can, like, see him walking up to the cars, like, oh, he looks nice. And this is how I know he was for sure just a casual viewer. He immediately pet Elton.
Elton ran over to me.
Of course he did.
You didn't even have him on harness.
No, but when I put him on harness, you kept petting him.
Did I? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, he really is a casual viewer. He's not, like, obsessed stalker.
To be fair, I still do that. I'm not good at it.
You're not good at it. It's your biggest flaw.
Yeah.
Constantly, I have to be like, boys.
Yeah.
And you're like, sorry. I'm always reminding him.
I
And then
every time.
Yes. And then he'll, like, be good for a week. And he's like, I've been doing so good. I'm like, yes, you have. Thank you. And then because he's been doing good, he slips again. And we'll have another bad week. And I'm like, ahem. And he's like, all right, I'll get good again. It's the pendulum swinging constantly. Anyways, we, like, sat outside in the wind, and I got a matcha and he got a coffee, and we had French fries. And
oh my God, I was so hungry and you didn't want food. I thought we were getting lunch.
Oops. Well, because I was anxious. I'm not hungry if I'm anxious.
And then I felt weird. I was like, I can't order food without you ordering food.
Oops, you could have ordered food. So yeah, then we like just hung and chatted for like 2 hours. And I think we both agree that I feel like why it really worked was because this wasn't a date. We were both just being so authentically ourselves. Like, neither of us were putting up a front. And I think no matter how much you try to do that with first dates, somewhere subconsciously, at least for me, I think I would still, like, reshape the way I said certain things. Or I would, like, decide what to ask or what not to say, or what to, like, put aside for later, you know, like when I would be on dates. Or I would think, like, oh, like, you're always told, like, guys don't like when girls say things like that, so you don't say it. With him, I didn't care. I was I was just being, like, who I would be meeting any friend or meeting anybody for the first time or yapping on the internet. Like, I was just being full Molly, which I don't know that I would have been if I was going on a date. And I think in return, for the same reasons, and because it gave him permission to do the same. So we were just like full sending, just being totally ourselves authentically in ways that would not be desirable or impress somebody in the dating sense.
And like my intention when I went into it, I wasn't thinking like, oh, maybe I'll get her to like me and then she'll want to go on a date. I was literally just like, this is a friend hangout. Like, so I wasn't trying to do anything.
To me, it really was like, oh, maybe this is somebody like I could hire to shoot when I need somebody, or like, like, I don't know. Like, it wasn't like, I really didn't think this would happen. I did not think we'd be sitting here 3 years later telling this story, I tell you that much. But by the end, I had to go to the bathroom, and he guided me to the bathroom, and it was like a single, like, family kind of restroom style. And he opens the door, and without any prompting, he's like, the toilet's in the back right, the sink's on the left. Like, he described it to me. And I was like, oh, that's so nice to not have to like ask somebody to do that. And that Saturday, so that was a Wednesday, that Saturday night, Robin was having her birthday party at a bar. And she had said to me, like, I didn't know any of Robin's friends. And I didn't want her to feel like she had to spend the whole night hanging with me because I'm in a dark, loud bar and I don't know any of her friends. Like, I didn't want her feeling like at her party, she had to be my guide. So she had said to me like, oh, you can like invite a friend, which I also felt like was her way of being like, sorry, my bra's popping out. Just popping titty on here. But like, I felt like that was her way of also saying like, no, look, Robin's the best. She would have absolutely like stood next to me and supported me all night. But I felt like it was also her way of being like, here, so you have somebody you can invite a friend. But none of my friends I had invited could go. So I was like torn between like, shoot, like I really want to go to Robin's party and support her and like show up for my friend, have fun, but I don't want my friend to then feel like I'm her responsibility at her birthday party. So I was kind of torn. And so again, something I would have absolutely over my dead body done if this had been a date. After like we were done chatting, I said to him, like after when I came out of the bathroom, we were like wrapping up and gonna head out. I was like, hey, do you drink? And he was like, yeah, I drink occasionally, like I drink a bit. And I was like, would you, because I also felt awkward inviting him to a bar. Like I didn't know if he drank or not, so I didn't want to invite him to that kind of environment. But when he said yes, I was like, would you want to come to my friend's birthday? Like she said I could invite a friend. So would you want to come with me and just like hang? I would never ask a guy on a second date that bluntly, typically I would leave the first date and let him do like a little text exchange, like, oh, do you want to meet again? Like I would never ask straight to their face. I'm just not that kind of confident gal. But also, I would certainly never suggest that a second date be to hang with my friends. That would be weird to me. I think that would be uncomfortable. For the person, for me, for my friends, like it would just be weird. My right leg is so asleep right now, you deserve to know this. This is why I'm like moving around. But I'm on a roll, I can't be stopped. I gotta keep going and telling you this story. So he said yes. And then he was like, would you like me to drive you home? And I was like, oh, that'd be great. I felt safe with him at this point. So we get in the car and this is so telling. He turned the wrong direction. And I knew he turned the wrong direction. He wasn't dropping me off to my apartment. He was dropping me off to Mo and Chris's house, which was like 15 minutes away versus mine, which was like 40 minutes away. But also I still didn't want to like give him my address. And my mom was going to be at Mo's and then we would go home together from there. So he turns the wrong direction, which I have the best sense of direction. So I immediately knew. But we were in the mountains, like we were in Malibu. So like you have really spotty service. So his GPS wasn't setting in, but he's like, I think this is the way. And in my head, I'm like, no, it's not. But I like felt bad correcting him. So we just like sit there and I was like, he'll figure it out. So eventually like the GPS kicks in and he's like, oh, I'm going the wrong direction. And I was like, I know.
Very patient with me. But she wanted more time to hang out. It was very cute.
I was enjoying our chat. So then he dropped me off and that was that. And my mom and Mo come home from their hang like 10 minutes later and they're like, how was it? And I was like, he's so lovely. Like he's really nice. And then my mom started to panic. She was like, I didn't think she'd actually like him. I didn't think he'd be, like, anything would happen. Like, oh my God, what if they do date from now? So she starts panicking and spiraling. And I'm like, don't worry, we're not going to date. Famous last words. So then...
Literally kissed the second time we saw each other.
Yeah, we made out at Robin's party. It's fine. The just friends lasted 4 days. But I think what was really great going into like the hang is I was so confident now. Like now that I had ripped the Band-Aid off of like going on a date post my previous relationship, which had ended about a year and a half prior, or like a little over a year prior, is when it actually ended. Mentally, it had ended much earlier. But I was in a place after ripping that Band-Aid off and like kind of going out with a guy where I was like, oh no, I so trust myself. Like it had actually taken away that fear that I had had, where I was like, I trust myself so much that if this man be trifling, if this man be playing around any games or playing with my heart or how I feel about myself and my life, kick to the curb. I don't need him. I am so good on my own that this man will only be in my life if it serves me, if his presence in my life brings value. And I would like to hope that it would be the same for him, that he would only keep me in his life if I brought value. So anyways, I had also looked up our astrological signs, Aquarius and Libra, and they're like the top match. And I was like, I'm screwed. And then we hung out all night at Robin's, in which I was being the most intensified version of myself. I was being Molly to the max. And in my previous, and this was very much subconscious, I think, but like in my previous relationship, I didn't feel like I could be myself. I had like to the point where I didn't know for many months after how to be myself. Like all my loved ones saw it. They saw my sparkle be so dimmed. And it was so hard for me to get the confidence to have that piece of myself back. Like to be sassy, to tell jokes, to be sarcastic, and to be funny and be loud, and just like those are the parts of me that, yes, there's gonna be people who think, oh, she's so obnoxious. Oh, she's not funny. Oh, but the people who do love me, like my friends and my family, those are the parts of me that they love. So while no, it's not for everybody, because nobody is, the people who love me, those are the reasons they love me. And I had been in a situation where the person I was with hated all those things and made me feel so bad about myself for all those things. So I kind of dimmed them. Like I had been conditioned to stop being that person, which was so hard. And so I feel like once I knew like, ooh, maybe this guy and me might actually end up being something at some point, I feel like that second hang, I was like, turn up the Molly. I'm gonna give him sassy, funny, sarcastic, obnoxious, loud-mouthed Molly. Like I am giving him my full self, and he can take it or he can't. Like he can handle this or he can't. Turns out he could handle it. So he was guiding me to the bathroom at one point, and I grabbed his hand. I made the move because I felt like I had been the one who like put the boundary of friendship, and this is not romantic, that I then equally had to be the one to like give him permission that that boundary was now removed. And so I like grabbed his hand and we held hands. So cute. And then we went outside to chat and we made out. It was great. And then we decided that we would hang out again, and it would be a date. We would consider that to be like our official first date. And so he planned it. We did dinner at my place, and then we drove to a light show. He took me to a light show, which I thought was really sweet and cute because we all know I can see lights and I love interactive light shows. So he took me to a light show, and the rest is history. And my mom was so stressed and nervous. But when she met him, she like immediately got it. Like she was like, oh my God, I'm so comfortable around him. He gets our humor. He thinks it's funny. Like he's so easy to be around. And I remember immediately the first time I hung out with him, when Robin and my other friend Megan, who had been the ones who like stalked his profile with my mom and like gave the approval. When I talked to them afterwards to debrief, as girls do, I was like, the 3 words that I would walk away from hanging out with him for coffee saying is that I felt comfortable, it felt easy, and it felt natural. And those are not words I would have used at all to explain my previous partnership. I'm really happy that my mom also immediately felt that way when she met him. And my whole family simply adores him. And
I adore them.
They like cannot wait for us to get married. They're like, come on, when's it happening? Like they just adore him, and he is so a part of our family. And yeah, it's just amazing. I'm so happy it worked out so well. And 3 happy years later, here we are. He's my best friend, and I just feel so lucky. I couldn't have like written a better story for us. yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was really sweet. And we did both agree to take it really slow. And he had his own reasons for that, wanting that as well. And so I think it really actually worked out for us that both of us wanted and needed this to move at a snail's pace. So we hung out 6 times before, including like the first coffee, the Robin, first date. We hung out 6 times total. And then I left LA and went back to BC for like 2 months or 6 weeks. Another 6 weeks.
Like 3 months before.
Yes.
A little more than 3 months.
Yes.
Before I asked you to
we made it official. Yeah. And so I left for like 2 months. So we were just like getting to know each other long distance, which forced us to continue to keep it slow the way we wanted to. And I think it really worked for us because I wasn't being, for lack of a better term, blinded by him just like planning amazing dates and like doing fun things together. We were just like watching documentaries on Netflix over virtually with our like headphones in and like having dinner together over Zoom, and like we were just texting poems that we liked and music and like truly just getting to know each other's heart and soul.
And actually like having conversations without it needing to be like masked by like an activity.
Exactly.
To bond. We were actually just bonding over conversation.
Yes. I remember I knew it was like I really liked this person when I realized that I really had to tell him that I don't want kids, and that I was very nervous and scared that that would be a deciding factor for him and that that would be a no-go for him. And I was like really stressed and upset about that idea. And I was like, this is why I need to tell him before we like make anything official or decide to really move this forward, because like we're 29, you know, like I don't want to waste his time if he does want kids. So I knew I had to tell him, and that was really stressful. But thankfully, he didn't want kids either. Thank God. See video here. And yeah, so we continued on. I flew back. He picked me up at the airport and asked me to be his girlfriend. And
that was a nice day.
Yeah.
I remember you coming back from the airport and like running into my arms. It was really cute.
Yeah.
I was so nervous to pick you up. I got to the airport so early that day.
Cute. It was very sweet. So yeah, he's just my best friend. I'm so lucky. And I hope this was like a nice ooey gooey warm your heart Valentine's Day video. And that's it. Now you officially know how we met. And you know what? We were recently watching the End of an Era docuseries, and it made me feel a lot better knowing that Travis Kelce was a fan of Taylor before they met, and that her mom was the one that orchestrated their relationship. I was like, are we Travis and Taylor? And you know what? If nobody be judging them that Travis was a fan of Taylor and now they're dating, then you can't judge me. But, you know, I think every content creator and celebrity or anybody in the public eye gets asked that question over time. Like, would you ever date a fan? Would you ever date a follower? And it's so hard to know the answer to that until you're in the situation. And I think what I realized is it's kind of like a spectrum. Would I date somebody who like knows everything about me, binge watched me, is like borderline stalker obsessed? Absolutely not. But it actually made life a little easier that he was like aware of me and like had a baseline understanding of blindness. And like I didn't have to explain all that to him because I had already explained it to him. And like it made me feel comfortable that like, oh, this guy is already open and interested in learning about disability. Like that's not something, and like he told me the reason he started following me was he was like, oh, you never know, maybe one day I'll end up like on set working with a blind person, or I'll end up running into a blind person, and it's just good to know like how I could help or what not to say. And that's like why he followed me. So to know that he was already open-minded and like wanting to learn made me know like he was a compassionate and empathetic person, and that was all like a big green flag. So kind of made my life easier that I had a baseline understanding, even though he did pet Elton.
We always joke, Molly and I, and also her parents, that I'm playing the long game.
It's the long con.
I don't know what the con is.
But yeah, so anyways, now you know. That's how we met. I don't know how to end this. I love you.
We love you too. And Valentine's Day can be a hard day for people who are single, so hopefully this video doesn't make them feel bad about being single.
As I said, the takeaway here is it really does unfortunately happen when you least expect it. So go be your best self. Live your best life. Like, live to the fullest, and the right person will find you when the right time is presenting itself. So, I love you. Bye. Until next time, you can click over here to watch that video 3 years ago if you want to reflect back on what I said then. that I posted, or you can click over here to hear about our experience living together as an intro-abled couple. Okay, bye.